Okay, we have an unboxing, or an bagging in this case, video here. And this purchase came about from my use of a glow-in-the-dark moon that I used, a really old one that I happen to have for, I don't know, it might be 30 years at this point in time. I know you can go back and check out that video, but I really like the look, and I like the notion of utilizing different types of things in scenes that, a kid would really enjoy seeing. So there's a kid in all of us in some ways, with our hobbies and whatnot, and I think we can all kind of relate to getting something like a little book or something like that, that might have some sort of little function on it. Like, I like those Eric Carle books that had like a little, I think it was like fireflies or something like that, and then you go into the closet and turn it on. Now, that was after my time, but I bought it for several kids in my adult years. But okay, so I looked around. I liked that glow-in-the-dark moon sticker, but I couldn't find any of those. But we've all seen these types of stickers before. I've seen kind of the more plastic ones that you can put on the ceiling, but, in the last 10 years, there's probably so many more different types of that sort that have come out. And I found this one right here. These ones look smaller to me than the ones that I remember from, a dozen years ago or so, which are perfect for card making, right? Okay, so these are these little raised bits here, and I don't know, I guess they're kind of pressed out of rubber or something like that. I tend to like these ones a little bit more than kind of a thin, kind of like paper sticker, because I just think they'd hold their charge a little bit more. So what we'll do is let me see if I can hold these up to the light and see how active they are. But why don't we utilize these really quickly in a couple real quick applications, I thought. And then I'll flip off my lights here and see if they work or not. But anyways, we have both the circles. It looks like these are the two sheets of the exact same thing, and then stars. Okay, I like the way they looked in some of the photo examples. What is this right here? Let me see. How to make them glow. Apply one of the adhesive tabs included to the back of each sticker and stick them on the ceiling or wall. Okay, gently press them and solve. Okay, so standard sticker, processes can be used by men, women, kids, and pets. I don't know, maybe that's a joke or something like it. Not suitable for kids under 5. They can swallow them or whatnot. All right, so let's see this right here. Let's just do a real quick application. I have some scrap paper here. Well, this one's not. This one's like a quarter-page Star Dream. Let's do something in the Star Dream right here. Okay, so we can just, add these little stickers onto something and just stamp out a little scene down here. So why don't we try something with, we'll go with my go-to stamp for, a lot of different types of experiments in the Lakeside Cove. Large stamp, okay. We're stamping this cove over a fairly, dark piece of Star Dream. This isn't cardstock. This one's the text weight, okay. You can use the thicker one, though, too, or any type of that type of paper. Okay, but if I'm going to stamp black over this paper, we need to kind of establish, if you want to see this stamp a little bit more, you have to kind of establish a little bit of a kind of a horizon glow, just to create a little bit more contrast between the black and this shimmery, iridescent dark blue, okay? And I'll put a little bit of a kind of a shimmery light down here in the water. One thing about kind of water scenes is that if you want to, you can even have, some of those stars down in the water if you want to. The use of this type of element here, it kind of makes it look more like a children's book type of illustration. We're not going for like photorealism or something like that. We're going for, kind of an artist's interpretation type of thing, with the 5-pointed star like that. They're also going to be raised, but again, it's that kind of that little extra factor that, it would be special for a kid, I mean, these days, I mean, if it was special back then, you have to really kick things up a little bit these days, because kids are all, they have their iPads on them, on them at all times or whatever, doing stuff like that, or at least from a pretty young age. So you want to get something that's going to kind of get their attention, for a minute. One of those different types of things that you consider as an illustrator is that, when people are turning the pages of a magazine, I don't know, do people even get magazines anymore, is that kind of the I don't know, not rule, but the goal was, with someone flipping through a newspaper or magazine where you have an illustration in it, does that person stop for, like a couple seconds? You get their attention, and for a couple seconds they kind of, take a closer look at what you've, drawn or whatever. And if you've done that, you're successful. Okay, so we need that kind of that impact there. All right, I need to re-ink my Brilliance pad a little bit here. We want to go for a pretty good impression. Boy, that soaked in fast. I might need a little bit more ink than that, but let's just see if that will do it. Okay. All right, and stamping down like so. It always feels strange stamping on kind of metallic surfaces. And the iridescence, like the star dreams, I think they're considered metallic. It's not like a chrome or a foil or something like that, but I never know how long to, kind of, allow for the transfer of media, because it is less porous than, say, something like a matte cardstock or even a glossy cardstock. Where things transfer a lot faster. You get the star dream, and it has that little shimmery iridescence that's, I don't think it's on the surface. It's in the actual pulp of the paper, the composition, so it's a little bit less resistant to moisture. But the star dream is still porous. It's not non-porous like a chrome foil or something like that. Okay, so just use adequate ink, of course, on your stamp. Okay, overlapping like this. You overlap by about a 1/4 inch. That's one of the things about scenic stamping where people think it's hard to do, is because you can't tell where one stamp or one impression ends and the other one begins. So when you can't tell that, it seems like it's harder, but it's just because you don't have to do careful placement. So does that make it harder? It makes it kind of stranger in concept if you haven't done it before, but in actuality it makes it easier to do because you don't have to be so particular about your stamp placement. You just don't want to under place it, where you get gaps in between everything. So, on a stamp like this, we're talking about a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of overlap in here. That's a lot of leeway. Okay, so you see where I've kind of put a little bit of that, that horizon glow in there? It looks like it would have stood out pretty good against the black would stand out. But this black, when dry though, it does kind of lighten up a little bit, so the contrast is going to be decreased. Okay, so that being said, we're talking about some simple applications here. Let me see. That is going to take, Brilliance inks dry pretty fast, relatively speaking. Okay, it's not an oil-based pigment ink, it's a water-based pigment ink, which really surprised me. I always thought all pigment inks were oil-based, but I looked at the Tsukaneko website and it said water-based, so I guess that's why it dries so fast. But it doesn't dry super fast, so just kind of watch out for it. I can heat set it, and it'll heat set in a couple seconds. These are kind of interesting. I wonder if they're... I don't think these are printed on here. But let's go with a couple stars here, and go for a little bit of a... Maybe we'll go for it like a dominant star here. I like drawing in my stars a lot, too. Like a North Star or something of that sort when I'm doing scenes, but of course when I'm doing that with like an acrylic paint pen, it's not going to be glow in the dark. Okay. Okay, let me try to put this. I'll put that away later. And we'll go with, let's see. I like how they have their little, I don't know, their sense of humor with this. They really shouldn't put this sticker right here. They should put it over here, though. I think it says build your starry night glow in the dark. Okay, so let's see. Let's go for, I'm trying to think. Okay, these are one size. These ones are the smaller ones in here. Okay. So, I mean, for a card like this size, I mean, it's, it's reasonably large. Okay. For this, these are supposed to go like on the ceiling, like, a decent distance. So I'm going for this little kind of arcing curve. That being said, we have these larger ones in here. It'd be good to do is do some splatter painting first, and then put some of these in there, with the bleed-proof white if you've seen me do that. But let's see, let's go with the, some smaller little dots like this too. And see these little white stars that we're drawing in here. And it'll give a little bit of depth to the scene, I think. But yeah, a splatter painted background would probably look really cool with this. Okay, what you can do too is I mean, if you have a large enough piece, maybe, what you can do is you can do splatter painting. You can do some crystals in here, and then intersperse with some glow-in-the-dark pieces. So, I mean, that would probably be the ideal type of thing, because you get the shimmery effect with light, in direct daylight, but then at nighttime, you can charge it up and put it on the wall, and you have this like glow-in-the-dark feature. So you get this kind of a shimmery type of glowing, both reflected light and glow-in-the-dark type of effect in both light and dark. Okay. All right, so that is that. We'll charge this up and see what it looks like here. But what I thought I would do too is I would try something on, here's a piece of just some really dark, it's really super dark blue cardstock. Okay, it's a glossy card, so you can't find this dark blue anymore, because when I bought it, it was like a closeout item at Kelly Paper. And that was, I don't know, like 30 years ago or something like that. Okay, they do have, there's a lot of black glossy cardstock that you can find, where you can do something similar. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this one out in white on dark. Okay, so we'll see how that goes too. Okay, I'm going to clean this stamp off. I'll pause. Okay, I should probably clean my stamps off a little bit more often than I do, which is hardly ever. But if you're just using black, for the most part, black dye-based inks or water-based inks, you really don't have to clean too often. Okay, this is a white brilliance. It's going to dry on the glossy cardstock, okay? Like a if you're going to do this in a regular pigment ink, you know, like an oil-based one, what you might want to do is white emboss or something like that, or stamp in white and then clear emboss on here, okay? Because your regular pigment inks, your oil-based pigment inks, just, I don't think they're going to dry on a glossy surface. Now, I say I don't think because, I don't know, there's different brands of inks that are coming out all the time, and I'm not privy to everything out there. I hear a lot of my, you know, media from all of you, so you know a lot more things about different media than I do. Okay, now I'm kind of cleaning up some of this ink that's on the interior here. A lot of times I don't stamp out this bottom portion. It's there so that we can create transitions and stuff like that, but if I'm stamping this in white, I don't really need to do that. So I've wiped off a lot of the ink in these areas right down at the base. Plus, wiping it off will create a little bit of a white transition too, you know, going from, you know, wet ink to dry. Okay, so let's try this one. I haven't done white on dark in a long time. I like the look though. I don't know, I just don't do that too often. It's a reverse of the imagery, so I don't know. It's an interesting look. It's like X-ray or something like that, or like you know, like heat vision or something like that. Okay, and again, we're transferring kind of a thick ink, a thick media to a, you know, not a non-porous surface, but you know, not too porous of a surface. So you have to kind of let the ink set up a little bit and transfer. It's not drying on there, but it, you know, it is setting up and kind of starting to dry a little bit. So you allow that to happen before you, you know, lift your piece, and then, you know, you'll get a really good impression. If you go down there like that and lift up too fast, it will probably, well, I wouldn't say probably, but it can act like a vacuum. Stamp it like that, and you stamp up, and a lot of the ink is retained on the surface like that because it just gets pulled right off of it. So just be careful about that, or be, you know, conscious of that. If you're using a stamp positioner too, I guess you can hit it a couple times if it doesn't, you know, transfer over. Okay, so what I was talking about was I thought that looks pretty good on that dark cardstock. Huh? Let's see. Let's take, and I am. You got to stir up your bleed-proof white if you don't use it in a while. I haven't used it in probably a little over a week. Okay, and I have my toothbrush here. You don't need to ink up the whole toothbrush, okay? Just dip in a little section of it. I guess, you know, if you're doing like a gigantic piece on the wall or something like that, and then maybe, you know, you dip in all the way, but I just do it, I don't know, maybe an eighth of that front part, because that's the part that I'm largely kind of flicking, okay? I'm not doing the whole thing like that. That would waste too much ink too. I don't know, I guess, you know, I guess if you're doing like a really super splattered application, then ink up more, but I would suggest doing just a little at a time. Okay? And kind of have your hand not over the piece too, in case you get a drip, but I've kind of, you know, wrung out or whatever, wiped off a lot of the excess ink, okay? All right, so adding those stars in there. That's giving me a slightly more varied and, I don't know, I hate to say realistic because nothing we do is terribly realistic, and I'm not going for photorealism in any of my pieces either. But having that kind of varied application is really nice. Now, some of it's going over, if I put a lot over the trees, it tends to look more like snowfall, and I'm fine with that too. So it could be stars and snowfall, who knows. Okay, so sometimes you get a more varied application of kind of large drops and small drops. As a matter of fact, that looks really good. I'm gonna put some in here too. You know, being that I have my ink in, you know, my paint in here. This is a watercolor paint, not ink. Dr. Martin's. Okay, so there we go there. I don't know how I just got that. All right, so there is that. That looks like a perfect spot for a quote stamp. I'm gonna go grab a quote stamp. Seems like it really needs it. Okay, we have a quote stamp right here. I have a whole quote stamp sheet that's kind of about the night sky, moons, and moonlight, and stars. So let's see how this one goes. You know, with one thing with quote stamps, especially when you're doing them in a kind of reverse and going white on dark, you want to get an even application of ink on here. I should use my new white pigment ink pad. I'm keeping one for my cotton application of ink and one for impressions. I haven't even opened my impressions one yet, but I need to do that because cotton tends to get built up on the surface of the pad a little bit when I'm doing that cotton ball type of application. Okay, so let's go about right here. I think I just stamped it at a little bit of an angle. Not sure. When you're stamping over the top of the Dr. Martens, okay, the Dr. Martens really dries very quickly, and while those dots are really small, they're not very raised. Just know that you are stamping over the top of kind of an irregular surface, you know, where some of the, you know, the items are raised. You know, the stars, like that. Okay, so I didn't get that terribly straight, but it's straight enough for me. Okay, so that says, dreams are like stars, you may never touch them, but if you follow them, they will lead you to your destiny. I like that quote a lot. And especially for something like this, I think it's very nice. And you know, if you give that, you know, to a little kid or whatever. I mean, you can give it to adults. We're stampers. We're giving, you know, a lot of times we're exchanging pieces with, you know, other stamping friends and whatnot, you know. But let's see. Let's go for. Let's not go for too many of these rounds. These rounds almost look more like you know, they're definitely more planetary in size. Let's go for some of these stars in here. Okay. I'm just composing. I don't know. I'm just kind of making them a little bit more irregular, putting some close to each other and some a little bit farther away. I can definitely see myself using more of these, some smaller ones here. I wish there was like a smaller dot than this, but it might be hard to apply. And, you know, most people are, you know, using that on kind of three-dimensional objects, walls and ceilings, so going any smaller than, you know, this little dot here would be, you know, something, I don't know, something not conducive for that use. Okay, so that is that. Those are a little bit big for cards, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in kind of an intermediate size or shape of a dot in here, star, I guess, with my acrylic paint pen. You can do it with a white gel pen too. Okay, just to kind of balance things out a little bit more. It kind of sets the stars into the scene a little bit more. like that white impression. I've done that before, but I don't know, I just haven't done it for a while. Okay, all right. So what we'll do is we'll charge these up here, and I'll flip off my studio lights here, and we'll see. It's not dark in my room here, but we'll see if we can get a little bit of light going in here. Okay, let's see. Okay, it is not dark in my room, but as dark as it is, my camera is kind of compensating for some of the exposure dimness in here. It's reasonably dark, but you can see where these stars really get charged up pretty well, and they're glowing pretty well for me. Let me see if I can charge them up a little bit more. Okay, can you see that? Now, from reading the reviews, I heard that these stayed charged up for a pretty good amount of time, like half an hour or something like that. And that's pretty good. I mean, we're not going to be sitting around kind of watching them like we do the TV set or something like that. But, if you have these on a mantle or something like that and you flip off the lights, I mean, that would be pretty cool. And I think something like that, those extra stars in there really help, huh? But you can see the different levels of it. See those really small ones in there, that texture from the bleed-proof white. And then we have the acrylic paint pen. Then you have your glowing stars like that. So I don't know, that makes for a pretty cool look, I think. Let's take a look at this one right here on the Star Dream. Let me charge that up a little bit. Okay, I've just charged that up, I don't know, not even 5 seconds, but I think that looks pretty cool like that. I think these work really nice. Like I said, I mean, it'd be cool to have some that are slightly smaller than that. And I know there are glow-in-the-dark inks out there, and I do have some. I'll try some out sometime. But what I'll do is I'll paint some on the tops of like these rocks right here to get a little bit of that reflective glow going, or representative of reflective glow on these rocks. So we'll experiment around a little bit with that. What my initial test with that type of ink, though, is that it just doesn't hold very much of a charge, but maybe it doesn't need to. So anyways, glow-in-the-dark pieces, I think they're really fun, and they add a little bit of extra to it. And like I said, throw a couple little crystals in here, so that you have kind of a sparkly element during, in daylight or whatever, and then you have something going on when you flip off the lights. So you're just kind of adding these extra little elements to your pieces that, I call it an interactive type of element. It's something that causes someone to do something with the card, and to actively engage with it. So, a crystal, they might change the angle a little bit. The paper itself on this one is iridescent, so there's a shimmer to it, but then you have this glow-in-the-dark element where someone will put a light onto it and flip off the lights, you know what I mean? So it's kind of an active type of relationship with the card. They might only do that once or twice or something like that, but, if they put this out, a card like this out, like a Christmas or something like that, if you make it into a Christmas card, that thing will be, making its appearance, and it'll be doing its thing, year after year. And I think that's a cool kind of thing. Or, it'd be awesome, too, is if you made these into, like, little ornaments, too. Not the size, but you can make little smaller ones like this with these little glowing stars on it, And, I don't know, it's getting the light from the light. I don't know if it's charging up, but if someone turns off the lights, then you'll have, a couple of these little ornaments on the tree or something of that sort. And I think that would be an interesting type of thing. We have the quote stamp in here, that's related to the piece. And I think that added a nice element in there as well. Okay, so anyways, glow-in-the-dark fun. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for sitting in and watching with me. And I'll see you on the next video.